Hello and welcome to Crucible of Words for more dedicated legacy action. Once again, we are playing some beautiful Turbodepths during the month of Depthcember. I feel it's as good a way to start the week off as any, and we're playing a slightly different build to last week. We are playing a build without Once Upon a Times. So for those who are unaware, Dark Depths makes a 2020 when it has no counters on. Hexmage strips all the counters, Thespian stage becomes a copy with no counters. Tutors to find our pieces, fast mana to make it happen quicker, protection pieces to stop our things getting blown up or our creature removed, and then disruption to mess with our opponent's plan and also take out different bits of permission and interaction our opponent has. So we're playing the heavy disruption build, as I like to call it. We don't have the smoothing effect of Once Upon a Time, but we do have more access to messing our opponent's game plan. Given the prevalence of combo in Legacy right now, I think running a build with a lot more disruption might be a pretty good place to go. So that's why I wanted to try this build out today. We've got some silver bullets in the land, just the usuals though. Bojuka Bog, a Ghost Quarter, a Sejiri Steppe, and of course the Boseiju, which we can find with Sylvan Scrying to blow some scary permanents up. So we need to be stricter with mulligans because we're not going to be able to rely on something like a Once Upon a Time to smooth out our draws as much. But we're going to be able to interact with what our opponent's doing and make sure our thing sticks a little bit better than normal. Sideboard wise, you may have noticed there are 4 Null Rods. This is because against the Mystic Forge deck, which is kind of the best deck if we're looking at metrics of win rate and conversion rate in tournaments, that deck can beat a Null Rod. But it's harder to beat a Null Rod for them than it is to beat a Collect Roof, because with the Collect Roof they have 4 copies of Kozilek's Command, which you can just get rid of the Collect Roof. Whereas Null Rod, they need to get a Karn and go and get something like a Portable Hole, and they sometimes have static prisons in the board as well. This is just a slightly harder game object for them to interact with, so we're running 4 of these instead of 2 and 2 split. We have 2 Sylvan Safekeeper to protect us from white removal, Abrupt Decay to hit opposition agents, to hit Blood Moon, Mages of the Moon, Harbinger of the Seas, all that sort of jazz. 1 more Duress if we need to complement our suite of discard, and 4 Faerie Macabres. Against the Reanimator deck, we're very good against the fair half of their deck. It's the bringing back things like Archon of Cruelty that we have an issue with. So if we can deal with that by having 4 of these, it means that we're going to be alright because we can beat the other half of their deck relatively well. And that, everyone, is the deck. If you'd like more information about this deck, you can check out my Patreon. I have some very detailed stuff, including sideboarding matrices for this deck and a 50-something page guide to Turbodepths and different inclinations of it, whether you want to go down the Once Upon a Time route or this route, the pros and cons of each, etc., etc. Without further ado, let's just get into it. Remember to like and subscribe, become a YouTube member for £1 a month, all that sort of jazz. Let's just play some Turbodepths. Our opener is a turn 3 Dark Depths into Thespian stage. That's fine. I think we can probably keep that one. We're on the play as well. On the draw, maybe that's a touch slow. But we'll lead off on the Urborg in case we draw something like a Hexmage. Let's just play as Pithing Needle and we'll name Wasteland. And we'll pass that over to our opponent. A Misty Rainforest. A Tundra. So we could be looking at Stifle Gnaw, we could be looking at some kind of Bant control deck. There's a lot of options. Bant is not really the sort of matchup we want, but such is life sometimes. Thespian's Stage, that's not really what I'm after right now. We'll play this Bayou. I would like to crop rotate if possible. We can do it around a days. Because we have other lands at hand, I don't mind losing a land if this goes wrong. It's more annoying that we lose a crop rotation, but we have a lot of ways of finding our dark depths, because that's kind of what our deck does. Do I want our opponent to get this Ponder off? I don't think so. I think we want to just crop rotate straight away. We can play around a daze. Okay, we did not get dazed. Let's go and get Your Friend and Mine, Dark Depths. So now we have an uncountable 2020 next turn. However, our opponent is a deck that is going to be absolutely chock full of white removal. So Prismatic Endings, which we don't care about unless they have a Teferi in play, or they can block for a turn. But the Swords to Plowshares are going to be an issue. Our opponent could also be on some sort of Cephalid Breakfast deck. Alright, we have an answer to their answer. Can't play it around a daze. Is our opponent a daze deck? I don't know. There is a Ponder. They shuffled their library. That suggests to me that we might be odds on to win this one. If they don't shuffle there, maybe we wait another turn. The fact they did is pretty interesting to me. A Nomads. Alright, so we are looking at Breakfast / Nadu. They've left up 1 mana, which is the amount of mana they need. Ooh, they're keeping back the Tamiyo. That is interesting. I think we do go for it, though, and try and put the Tamiyo into the bin here. We can draw the Sejiri Steppe or a crop rotation here. A Vampire Hexmage. That's not the one we wanted. Am I going to play out a land here? I will play out this Thespian Stage, so we're closer to another Dark Depths combo. The fact they left the Tamiyo back to block means they don't have a Swords to Plowshares right now. So we had 8 draws there which win us the game on the spot. We didn't find them, but that's okay. Let's jam this Hexmage. It means if they have a Planeswalker, we can at least get rid of the Planeswalker and then use our Knot of this World to counter the ability. So if they have something like a Teferi here and try and bounce the Marit Lage. It's a pretty neat trick you don't see very often. Pending, that's unfortunate. Let's hope we can actually have our Knot of this World resolve. I got a Force of Will to back it up, but we are 1 card away from just going again. So we have 3 Dark Depths, 3 Crop Rotations, 4 Sylvan Scrying. So that's 10 cards that gets where we need to go. Now our opponent is threatening a combo of their very own. There's going to be Nadu. If they start drawing lots of cards with Nadu, that is going to be somewhat problematic for us. So this looks like the Nadu Zenith build. Just kind of like a... Oh, pre-war Formware. That's pretty cool. Okay, our opponent's on an interesting list here. It's like Stoneblade with Nadu combo in. A 2-5. So we block here. They flip the damage over to Tamiyo, and then the damage from the Nomads kills our Hexmage, so we don't want to block here. Pretty cool stuff from our opponent. Not of this world. Do I want to play this Bojuka Bog right now? Am I worried about some kind of Murktide Regent? Possibly. I think we'll play this and just get it out of the way. It means we don't get to copy anything on our Thespian stage, but I doubt we're going to be wanting to do that anyway. We're in a precarious position. Our opponent has got 2 cards in hand as of this draw step, but they have a Tamiyo with Vigilance. They're going to be making clues and drawing them. Our opponent is in the strongest spot, but we have a very explosive thing we can do that might be able to win us the game. We can't block this turn for the same reason we couldn't block last time. Right, just going to end step. Another Urborg, not the one we wanted. We don't have any Surveil lands in our deck, so this doesn't really help us out. And we just have to pass it over. The Bant Zenith decks are kind of the closest thing to a good control deck in the format right now, because things are a little bit squiffy. Although you're probably seeing this video after Eternal Weekend, so who knows what's happened in Eternal Weekend Europe. I am recording this beforehand. So we're going to get in for 3 again here. Oh, interesting. Not attacking with the Nomads. Wonder what that suggests. Cracking a clue. Cracking the other one and flipping the Tamiyo maybe? No. Would I like to thin my library? It does cost us a life. The thinning is so incredibly marginal. But I think it's worth getting out at this point. I would quite like a Bayou here. I guess we could copy their Tropical Island and have like a Sultai land, but that doesn't really matter. This just gives us access to more green if that's the thing we need. Another Hexmage that we don't get to do anything with. Sure feels like we're losing this one. This Tamiyo just accruing so much card advantage now. So by the time we draw a tutor, it might not be good enough, so we might have to draw actual Dark Depths itself. We got a 1 in 15 chance to draw a Dark Depths, 1 in 15 chance to draw a Crop Rotation, and better than that to draw a Sylvan Scrying. But if the thing they're sitting on is something like a Plow, we at least have that covered. But they can block for a turn with Tamiyo and then have sorcery speed removal, like the Prismatic Ending. They shuffled their library, playing out a Misty. Another Nomads. Alright, our opponent's got some bad cards. But if they get the other side of the combo, then they have many creatures to start drawing cards with. Yeah, we're in the same bind we were before. I don't think it's worth losing a Vampire Hexmage here. Like I said, if we have a spare Hexmage, we can use it to answer Planeswalkers like Teferi, giving us the ability to respond, because it's the Teferi's static ability that causes us the issue in terms of when we get to cast our spells. An Elvish Spirit Guide. So we could, if we play the Spirit Guide out, we can triple block. And that actually clears... Does it clear the Nomad? It does clear the Nomad. It clears the Nomad or it clears the Tamiyo. It does cost us a Vampire Hexmage to do that. I imagine our opponent is just going to be cracking clues, attacking with a Tamiyo. They don't really want to flip their Tamiyo given our Hexmages on board. So they're just going to be slow cracking these clues. Cavern of Souls, what are we going to be naming here? Wizard, I would imagine. There it is, Wizard. So that can cast a Nadu or a Thassa's Oracle or a Tamiyo. Yep, so our opponent isn't attacking with the Nomads because they know we can triple block now. So I imagine they probably crack 1 clue here because they have the ability to just play a Nadu and just rip through their deck and win the game. I don't think they have Cephalid Illusionist. They might also just beat us down with the Tamiyo. A Pithing Needle. I guess we play this to stop them just being able to rip and go through their deck. We can't name clue tokens. We can only name the Nomads here. Is this worth a Force of Will to you? Cracking a clue to see if they can find a different answer. This also makes any attacks with nomads look very bad. They can move the pre-war formalware around and just spend 3 mana to draw a card. That's not ideal, but they can still do it. It is just 4 attacks with the Tamiyo before they kill us, though. And they've just got a full hand to back up this Tamiyo. So it's unlikely we're going to be able to resolve a tutor effect. Another nomads. Sure. Our opponent's got all the A's, but no B for their combo. Well, 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 look at that. Yet another Vampire Hexmage. There's no point trying to force through damage here. That's not really how we're going to win this game. We're going to win the game with one big swing with a 2020 at some stage. Tamiyo putting in a real shift in our life tail. We've taken probably 2 damage, I think, from a nomads. Something like that, maybe a little bit more. No, it's 3, 1 from a fetch, and then everything else is the Tamiyo. Opponent's going to have to go to discard. Unless they play something out here. Okay, they've gone to their end steps. They're not playing anything out. A crop rotation. Well, we have our plan. We'd like our opponent to tap out because they're almost certainly just going to cast a Force of Will in response. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 mana still up, so they can still force here. Okay, so now they can't hard cast a force. They're cycling this, are they? I don't believe this crop rotation is going to resolve. But we have one more draw step, and maybe that's the draw step where we find a thing that does resolve. It's just going to be... Right, main deck Force of Negation. Good to know. Archive. Okay, opponent. If they have another pre-war formalware, they can stick it on the Tamiyo and win this turn. Oh, they got the Nadu. They do. If they want to show us more of their deck, I think I'm going to let that happen. Right, let's just let them rip and get a little bit more of an impression of their deck, because they're on a slightly unusual build here. So I wouldn't mind a little bit of extra info. So they got a Prismatic Ending. That was not a surprise. Now they're just going to rip through their deck. No, they don't want to show us any cards. I don't believe we're going to draw anything that matters here. And we certainly did not. Yeah, our deck was a little bit unkind to us there. But our opponent's playing a blue deck, so they get to sculpt the draws they want. We don't have that luxury, unfortunately. Okay, I like Abrupt Decays here. Our opponent looks relatively on the control end of spectrum there. So I think I want some Sylvan Safekeepers as well. So these are things I'm interested in. The Pithing Needles are okay here. I don't think we want this much hand disruption. So we take out the weaker hand disruption. That gives us these. We don't need a Bojuka Bog. The Ghost Quarter is unlikely to matter here, given what our opponent's shown us. So I think we can take that out as well. And this gives us a clean 60. So we can name their nomads. Okay, yeah. We have a turn to 2020, a round of days. Our opponent didn't show us days in that game, and they showed us Force of Negation. You tend to run either or. So I'm not expecting that. But we have 2 bites of the cherry with our double Hexmage hand. Just play out an innocent-looking Urborg. Said nobody ever. Okay. So what having the Hexmage in play will do is it means our opponent has to keep mana open at all points at all times. Otherwise, they're liable to get killed by 2020. A Brainstorm. So our opponent probably has all the information they have to work with for this next turn cycle. So they might know if they're dead or not. But they can always bluff having a removal spell. They spent a long time on that Brainstorm though. Which kind of gives the impression that maybe they don't have it. Snow-covered island. Do I want to go for it here? They brainstormed, they paused for a while. They didn't have a shuffle effect. How many draws do we have that help here? So we have 4 Not of This World, 2 Sylvan Safekeeper, 4 Thoughtseize. That's 10 draws. So that's a 1 in 5 chance of drawing something that helps us out here. That's not actually that high. I think we go for it here. We're gaining 20 life. We are gaining 20 life. Sure, they did find it. Just get the Hexmage in. And maybe we go on the beatdown here. Would I want this exiled or in my graveyard? And does it matter is the question. I think we will remove some counters from this Tundra. Okay, so we're probably just hard casting some Elvish Spirit Guides. Since we got them in spades over here. Okay, that is a little bit better than hard casting one of those, isn't it? Let's cast this, pitching this and this. Just so we can get a Dark Depths and just make our guy this turn cycle. Feels about time we got like a new land tutor. Not asking for something of crop rotation power, but, you know, give us a little something something. Are we going for it here with our opponent of 5 cards? They left a card on top with this Surveil, so I don't think we go for it. That might be a nice bluff from our opponent. We're not under any pressure though. We're looking for Thoughtseizes, we're looking for Sylvan Safekeeper. Does this Sylvan Scrying help us? I don't believe it does. I think we're just passing. Staring at one another until one of us has the requisite pieces to do our strategy. Cavern of Souls. This gives our opponent enough mana to play something like a Nardu and then hold up Source to Plowshares. A Vampire Hexmage. I will play out this Vampire Hexmage. I will now cast this Sylvan Scrying. The aim of the game here is to get another Dark Depths because we have 2 Dark Depths combos if this resolves. Our opponent hasn't shown us a Daze yet, so I don't want to... I could have played out the Petal, but I didn't really want to. I don't want to make a Sorcery Speed because our opponent has the Prismatic Endings and possibly a Teferi. We haven't seen a Teferi yet, but it's the sort of thing that should probably be in our opponent's deck somewhere along the lines. Blue, blue, end step. Snapcaster Mage. Wowzers, trousers. Do I want to make a 2020 here? If we make a 2020 here, it's almost certainly dying to a Prismatic Ending. I'll just take my 2 extra life. Like, our opponent doesn't make that play without having an answer. We've got plenty of life to work with. This Snapcaster Mage is going to have to take an absolute slog of a game to kill us. I think our opponent's deck does have Stoneforge Mystic in it. They probably have 1 Shuko, the pre-war Formware, and a Cauldra, would be my guess. They might have a Batterskull. That's certainly a possibility. A Pithing Needle. Do we need to play this Pithing Needle out right now? We can name Nomads in Core. I don't think we need to do that yet. They could play both halves of their combo in one go. But if they play something like a Stoneforge Mystic, I want the ability to play a Pithing Needle and name it so they can't just smash a Cauldra in and blow up our face. But it does mean our opponent might have a window to play a Nardu and start drawing cards. If they play either half of their combo, then I will go for it with the Pithing Needle layers. I guess they are in a situation where they can't play both parts of their combo without being fearful of our Dark Depths just killing them. They did not shuffle with that Ponder. A Sylvan Scrying. 1, 2, 3. So I could do that and then Sylvan Scrying for... We're going to have to lose 2 lands if we make this guy anyway. Do I want to put this Pithing Needle onto Faerie? I don't think so. Let's put this on the Nomads now. So we have another route to the combo. So we can combo for a 3rd time. But I don't know if that's a thing we're necessarily supposed to do here. I think we want to draw some more cards. There is the Nomads. Just in the nick of time. A Sylvan Safekeeper. That is very much the sort of card we're looking to play. I will cast a Sylvan Safekeeper. This is a counterspell target for sure. Force of Will, pitching Force of Will. Understood, opponent. Don't want to Sylvan Scrying here. I could Sylvan Scrying for a Thespian stage and have a 2nd Thespian stage in play. That does cost us one of our green sources, but I think that's okay. So what we're going to do is we get a Thespian stage, we play that, and that's our additional mana we need. We're just going to see a hard cast Force of Negation. We are. So this is a turn where our opponent can kind of go off, so I think I'm going to have to play out this Urborg just so that we can threaten the combo so our opponent can't just, you know, play Nardu Prismatic Ending without at least a little bit of trepidation. A Shuko. That works pretty well with the Nardu. Oh no. What a fighty Nomads in Core that is. Playing a very strange game. Not of this world. Opponent's got 3 cards in hand. I think that's probably go time for us. We've exhausted a bunch of their counter magic. Obviously, I'm not going to do this in our opponent's combat step. We want to dodge Prismatic Ending. A Ponder, sure. Maybe our opponent's boarded in, consigned to memory, and doesn't know how it works. That's always helpful. It happens more often than you think. I chose not to shut, but that might just be they wanted 1 card. Do I think a single Knot of this world is enough to beat 4 cards? We can wait longer, but our opponent gets to sculpt. I think we'll wait another turn cycle. We've got a lot of good draws here. Boom. Rewarded. Okay. Now it's on. Our opponent has to have 3 removal spells or 2 removal spells and a counter spell. That's putting a lot of tax on our opponent's hand for things they can have. Likes to play a land or something this turn. Like cracking the Windswept Teeth. Something like a Nardu this turn would obviously be bad news for us. This looks like Nardu mana. It's an Uro. That's fine. because that doesn't put them above 20, which is the key number here. All right, it's time to go. Say no to Swords to Plowshares. Say no to Swords to Plowshares. All right, we got there. Weird game. Patience paid off. Let's see if we can do it again. I like how we've boarded here. Maybe we're a little bit too heavy on the Abrupt Decays here. Maybe we could ease off on that slightly. So maybe go down one of those and gain +1 on the Inquisition. This is a turn 3 with protection. I think we can keep this. We have a lot of draws that can make this better. Our opponent hasn't shown a particular desire to go quick. A deck seems to be more of like a control deck that happens to have Nadu in, rather than something that's racing to the combo. So I'm not expecting them to just jump out the gates trying to combo us. They also only have 7.5 minutes on their clock. Intriguing. If we play the Thespian stage, this gives us the ability to draw an Urborg next turn. So the plan could be, or another piece of fast mana, whereas if we play out the Verdant Catacombs, we don't get to do that. A Shuko. Is our opponent threatening to combo next turn? Their combo isn't as strong as you would necessarily think, like with what they have. So if we play this on out, I think we float this Safekeeper out. So this will attract a removal spell anyway, so it's kind of doing its job a little bit. I don't really want to sacrifice a land to keep it around. But if this is just a duress for a Swords to Plowshares, that's also pretty reasonable. We might surprise our opponent with our ability to combo next turn with the piece of fast mana. Swords to Plowshares. Sure. Our duress has in fact worked. It's a funny looking duress, but I'll take it. Sejiri Steppe in hand is not where I want that card. It's passed. Our opponent might disrespect the fast mana from us. They have seen the Elvish Spirit Guides though. This has been a pretty good match, to be honest. There's a lot of back and forth and interesting decisions about when we go, when we hold. First game was just Tamiya doing its thing, but the other two games so far have been pretty good. Let's do Rainforest and Nomads. Okay, our opponent can Nadu here. Do I want to go now? I'm kind of a little bit dubious about what's happening over there. I think I am going to go. Alright, our opponent's let us untap. I think we've won the game. Let's play out this. Do we play out the Sejiri Steppe here? What is our opponent doing? Do they have Endurance in their deck? That's something to consider here. Let's try and Not of This World. They got another one. Something's happening. This could be a force. Could be a brainstorm and a hit and hope. Another Swords to Plowshares. Okay. So we pass. We've got the combo again in 2 turns. Having that Sejiri Steppe in hand definitely has come back to bite us there. A Nadu. So our opponent gets to draw many, many cards. This might not be a thing that we have to see for too much longer in the format of Legacy. Nadu is definitely something that I have to imagine they have their eye on. We only need to beat specific cards from our opponent. So our opponent having lots of cards isn't that much of an issue, as long as they're not specific cards. But as soon as they get more creatures means more cards. They get to draw 4 cards on our turn. So what would be useful here? A Pithing Needle. That's kind of interesting. Let's Pithing Needle. So we can name the Nadu. Sorry, not Nadu. The Nomads. And that way they don't have the ability to do it on our turn as well as their turn. So that it does cut in half the number of cards they get to draw. But they get to draw 4 cards first. I think this game will be decided with the 5 minutes left. But our opponent probably doesn't have like a big I win button. They have a Prismatic Ending, so they can use that to kill our Pithing Needle anyway. Do I want to Sylvan Scrying for anything? Is there anything here that helps? I don't believe there is. So we're just going to pass and try and go next turn. So we could get the another part of our combo, but we don't know which half we'll need if this half fails. But I guess we do already have the crop rotation if that's the case. Alright. Yep. You use up your precious time. We've got another Merit Lage we're going to have to deal with soon. And we do get to see most of the cards our opponent draws. Alright, there's a Force of Will, so they will be able to counterspell anything we do. But we're not trying to win with the counter. Okay, so the Snapcaster Mage is pretty good there. So we're going to... Do we want to cast Crop Rotation for a Bojuka Bog? Or are they just playing the Snapcaster out right now? Okay, sure. Targeting Prismatic Ending. So they're just trying to get damage on so they don't run out of time. That might end up giving us a little line to victory here. We discarded a Ponder, sure. Who needs Ponder when you can just draw all the cards all the time? Okay. They've got 12 more cards before they have to... Sorry, that's not true. They've got 18 cards to answer our Marriage with. I don't feel good about this. But we've got quite a lot of time ahead of our opponent, so we may as well make him play out here. Was not expecting to be going to times with Turbodepths, but strange things happen sometimes. Right, an island. Pre-war formalware. It is the formalware. What have they got in here? Nothing. But I guess it's more damage, which is what our opponent's trying to accomplish right now. They can also give their Nadu Vigilance, so they can block with it for a turn. Right, that's a nice little Force of Will they have there. I could block here and give them access to the Prismatic Ending on our guy. I don't think I want to do that. I think we've probably lost this one. We haven't seen a plow go into their hand over the course of this Narduing. Obviously they have regular draw steps. Right, so this Nardu is just going to... Let's cast a Sylvan Scrying here. Would you like to counterspell this? We would, and they're pitching a Lorien Revealed to do so. This one out, let's go attacks. This will reduce our opponent's clock. If you're going to play Nardu, I'm certainly going to have a go at trying to time you out. I think they're going to need these Nardu cards to try and win this game, which does mean they're going to have to be playing a bunch of... I guess they can play the Nardu, they don't have to draw the cards. They can just play the Nardu and then go ahead. So they probably play the Nardu here, they equip the pre-war formalware. They get to bash for more damage this turn. They can draw some more cards if they really want. Flooded Strand, sure. I think it's still 3 turns. My opponent's low on clock, so I'm going to pass to our main phase, and then I'm going to crack this. I'll get Bayou. Float green. Our opponent's clearly not yielding there. So we know they have a Force of Will. But we can force them to use it. 3 mana. They're equipping the pre-war formalware. A Tamiyo Inquisitive Student. That can block. I'm going to float some mana here. Crop rotate away the Sejiri Steppe. Opponent's going to Force of Will this. Pitching the Brainstorm. And they've got one more turn of attacking us. So Elvish Spirit Guide or Hexmage can get in there and block for a turn. Alright, they're just buying back the Euro. They are indeed. There's certainly some more triggers you're putting on the stack there, opponent. Okay, deck. What have you got for us? Nothing. Our opponent almost certainly wins this game in this amount of time. I could have played the fetch hand to try and bamboozle our opponent with it. But they're just going to turn their guys sideways. There's enough time to win the game here. That was unfortunate. Like, we managed to work through all of our opponent's things, and they had just one too many things. And the fact that we had the Sejiri Steppe in hand, instead of it being on our graveyard, pretty much cost us that whole match. It was a pretty good set of games, though, and our opponent agrees. Let's go to round 2. Alright, our opener does not do anything here, so we need to mulligan. We don't have a tutor here. I do like to keep hands that have access to our actual combo. I think I'm going to mulligan this. This is no good either. Well, they're going low. Now, we do have some pretty good 4-card hands. This is obviously not one of them, so we're mulliganing to 3. I guess we keep this. So we want an Urborg, a crop rotation, and probably the Verdant Catacombs here. Not liking my chances on this one. If we play out the Urborg, we have the chance of drawing Hexmage and winning next turn. I think that's worth it. We're already so far behind, we may as well try and capitalise on the few good draws we could have here to really let us pop off. Okay, it wasn't a wasteland, that's something at least. But it is a white mana source. Alright, the Vexing Ball doesn't bother us too much. Sylvan Scrying. Let's go and get a Bayou here. Let's cast Sylvan Scrying. Let's go and get Dark Depths, I think. So next turn we have a combo attempt. Because we can crop rotate away the Bayou. This is where they play Blood Moon. Fable of the Mirrorbreaker. Sure, we beat that. Our opponent could be a painted deck. It could be like a red-white initiative style deck list. We just don't know. Our opponent does have to respect the combo a little bit here. But we did mulligan quite low. So maybe they're just going to try and push their advantage here. But we'll see what they can do. Vexing Ball means we don't have to worry about something like a Solitude. And we're probably going to get some information about our opponent's deck when they discard off this Fable of the Mirrorbreaker. Our matchup into red decks is great, generally speaking. Apostle's Blessing. What is our opponent up to? Do not know. Yeah, like I was saying, our matchup into red decks is generally pretty good. But red-white is a new dimension. Do we just hope that our opponent doesn't have it here? They're ahead, so they don't really need to commit here. I think that means that we don't have to commit either, as annoying as that is. Okay, that was a very good draw for us. Let's play this one. Let's get rid of their graveyard. Right, we were rewarded for holding off for a turn there with our opponent having all this mana up. They do have Hardcast Solitude. Obviously they can crack their bauble and pitch cast a Solitude if they want to. What is the Apostle's Blessing doing? That is an interesting one. Could be Painter, and that's a way they're trying to preserve their ability to play the game here. There's a Saga, sure. My Painter sense is very much tingling. We're just getting painted right now. Broadside Bombardiers. Okay, we beat that. Our Not of This World does not work while the Vexing Bauble is in play. But if our opponent tries to crack this Vexing Bauble to find an answer, it can still work. So we could try and draw into another crop rotation. I think we're just going to go now. Our opponent has less mana available. Also, we don't have to give up our only green source to do this. We might be gaining 20 life. Or we might be winning the game. It's one of the two. This is the exact situation I mentioned before, where they crack a Vexing Bauble and then we have access to protecting against the plow now. Oh, I kind of wish they drew the plow then, just so we could say, look how smart we were. Alright, so I do think our opponent is running some sort of Painter deck. I don't know what the Apostle's Blessing is doing in there, but we want some combination of these sorts of things. This isn't really a Bojuka Bog matchup. We don't really want the Duresses. So if they are running plows, which I kind of get the impression they are, then it makes these Null Rods a bit interesting. I guess we can go a little bit slow, but if they have Blood Moon, we need to be able to answer Blood Moon, don't we? So we're probably looking at trimming some needles here. That gets us a Null Rod. I think the needles are just not as good as Null Rods in this situation. And am I okay with that, or do I want this Inquisition to become another Null Rod? No, I think 3 Null Rods is okay for now. Let's try this. I haven't really got a feel for what our opponent's deck's doing. We saw like Fable, we saw Apostle's Blessing. It's just some odd stuff. I don't really want to keep this hand because we don't have access to Dark Depths. I'll keep a hand that has access to Dark Depths but not the other half, but I won't keep one that doesn't have access to Dark Depths because that's the more important piece. Alright, so this hand certainly works for me. We probably throw back a Verdant Catacombs here. So we have to respect the Blood Moon. So I would like to play this Verdant Catacombs out first, so that we at least have access to green mana. Arab Mesa. That is unlikely to result in a turn 1 Blood Moon. Our opponent is running the Urza Saga, so they're less likely to have Blood Moon, but it's still a thing that they can pivot to. Okay, so they are Painter. I'll play this Petal out. I'll play this Verdant Catacombs out. So now we have the ability to blow up their Grindstone or Painter through a Pyroblast. Fable of the Mirrorbreaker. Sure, good cards are good. Interesting choice of what we play here. If we play out the Thespian stage, it doesn't actually do the most amount for us, because we're 1 mana shy. I guess we play out the Urborg here. So we have Boseiju to lean on, we have the Abrupt Decay. I don't mind our chances here. Our opponent doesn't have white mana available just yet. Alright, they discarded a Plains. Doesn't feel like they're playing on that particular axis, does it? If they play a Blood Moon, we go and get a basic forest, turn our Urborg into a Dark Depths after the Blood Moon is resolved, untap, and can Abrupt Decay at our leisure. A Broadside Bombardiers. Is this the threat that I have to care about? I don't think it is. We get a 2020 next turn. I don't want to just get Painter Grindstoned out. 3 mana. A Blood Moon. So this is the exact play I was mentioning just now. So we go and get ourselves a basic forest here. Then we float a black mana. We let this resolve. Then we crop rotate away this Urborg. Go get the Dark Depths. And do I want the green mana here, or do I want to just blow this up? We get 2020. Boom. Beautiful. Like I said, Painter is a very good matchup for our deck. Painter and Mono Red both end up pretty good. I think Painter is slightly more favourable than Mono Red, but they're both the sort of things you want to be jamming into, which is funny because they're Blood Moon decks. I think they're better off not bothering with the Blood Moon and just indexing into their combo. Alright, we are 1-1. Let's go to round 3. Alright. What does our hand do? So we have Dark Depths here. Turn 2 we can play Bayou. Turn 3 we can combo off with Wasteland Protection. That's reasonable. I'll take it. Fast mana can accelerate our clock. An Ancient Tomb. Okay, what do I not want to play against here? Ooh, that is a spicy meatball, isn't it? That speeds up our clock quite a bit. Let's play this Pithing Needle out. Against an Ancient Tomb, I'm going to name the One Ring. That's the thing that scares me the most our opponent could have. Oh, come on! Wasteland and an Ancient Tomb deck. Well, we've got this covered anyway. Let's go and get the Urborg. Still annoyed about that, but... What deck runs Wasteland and Ancient Tomb? It's probably Eldrazi, which is a touch annoying. What are you doing with your swamp? No. Okay, I think they wanted 2 colourless mana here. If this is a Chalice, that would very much paint their colours to the mast as an Eldrazi deck. Would love to draw a Not of This World. Just that extra layer of security. I no longer want that. They might just cycle this straight away, though. Okay, yeah. We still want that Not of This World. Vexing Bauble, though. That is a confusing one. So, are we playing against other Wastelands? How many Wastelands can this colourless deck realistically have? We have another Dark Depths. I think we'll allow them to possibly have a... I think this is a singleton Wasteland to tutor for. That's kind of the impression I'm getting. Elvish Spirit Guide. Are we looking at something more akin to a Cloudpost deck here? Eldrazi Temple. No, we are on Eldrazi. 1, 2, 3, 4. Sowing Mycospawn. Search your library for a land card. Do they have a Karakas? Let's hope not. They do have a Karakas. Jeez. Ugh. You don't see a lot of Karakas in the Eldrazi decks, to be honest. Okay, deck. Yeah, the Vexing Bauble threw me off a touch as well. Ivugin. Reality Smash. I haven't seen one of those for a hot minute. Our opponent's on a bit of an unusual build. So you don't normally see Karakas in these decks. And you certainly don't normally see the Reality Smasher. It's certainly going to do a bit of smashing on our realities, isn't it? So let's get this stage out and put out this Lotus Petal. So we take 8 this turn, which unfortunately means that they have lethal with the same Mycospawn the turn after. I don't think we've really got a way to deal with that. So we could draw a Not of This World, which allows us to not get killed by the Karakas. But they're just going to have the 3 damage. What is our solution to this problem? Zuranob. We don't have a Zuranob. Do love Zuranob though. Okay. Eldrazi. So Duress, Bojuka Bog and Sejiri Steppe don't seem great here. And we probably want access to things that destroy Chalice and things that keep our creatures alive. So like 3 decays, 1 Safekeeper. I think they should be boarding out their Vexing Baubles against us. So I don't mind having these Not of This World's in. We could swap 1 for a Safekeeper. So I think we're trying to protect against is Kozilek's Command. Hence why we keep the Inquisition of Kozilek in. So they hit their early plays. We're not keeping this one. Turn 1, we Urborg. Turn 2, we Thespian stage. Turn 3, we combo off with protection. Sure, I guess. Means you probably put back the decay here. But if they have a Chalice on 1... They've shown us the Vexing Bauble, though. Alright. Gotta believe. So... I think we play out the Urborg first. In case we draw... So we play out the Urborg in case we draw a Hexmage. And then we can always cycle it into something else if we need to. Alternatively, we play this out and just keep ourselves... Yeah, I think we play out the Verdant Catacombs because then we don't get wastelanded. And we can not have to burn our Spirit Guide. So the Thespian stage playing out this turn would have meant that if we draw another piece of fast mana, we can go next turn. There's a wasteland. Sure. Bit rude, opponent. A Ghost Quarter. Okay. That is part of the problem solved here. Play a Ghost Quarter. That is an Eldrazi Temple. They have the Spirit Guide. Just a Glaring Fleshraker. Like, it's good, but I think we can beat that. A Dark Depths. So we probably have to Ghost Quarter this land. So we play out the Thespian stage now. So we have the combo next turn using our fast mana. Need to, we can turn the Thespian stage into something to not die to the wasteland, if they have a wasteland. Thought Not Seer. Do we care about this Thought Not Seer? No. The Thought Not Seer doesn't stop us from comboing next turn, if that's what we're doing. Go ahead, opponent. Look at my wares. All 3 of those cards, let us have the combo next turn. Talisman of Resilience. Sure. Certainly draining us down a little touch there. We'll take another 2 off the Fleshraker. 3 cards left in our opponent's hand. How many of them are Kozilek's Command? Okay, this allows us to double up on combos, so we can combo this turn and combo next turn. Is that true? No, it isn't true. We need to find another mana source to do that. We could pass a turn so we have... No, Crop Rotation doesn't really save us from our opponent's spells, does it? Are we worried about sorcery speed removal? Is there any sorcery speed removal our opponent can have here? Okay. Fairy. We're going to play a Faerie Macabre. 3 cards in our opponent's hand. Are we going for it right now? Our opponent could kill us next turn, so we probably have to go for it here. Now we just get a forest because we're crop rotating it away anyway. Why are they named Fairy? Like, you actually do want green mana from this for the purposes of your Sowing Myco Spawn. So it kind of suggests that maybe our opponent doesn't think this game is going to go very well for them. They're naming something amusing. Or they have Faerie Macabres they're drawing to. I don't know. Our opponent's got a slightly unusual build, so maybe they got something that I'm not expecting. So let's make a Dark Depths here. This is a little bit all-in, but our life total suggests we have to make an all-in play. We in Kozilek's command. Don't do it, opponent. Alright, they didn't have it. Pew. Okay, we didn't see that, so I'm going to take out this Sylvan Safekeeper, especially on the draw. We're going to need to be a little bit faster, so the Not of This World is going to be better. So let's just go in like this. We have Thoughtseize. Well, we have a turn... Yeah, Thoughtseize into turn 2 Guy. That seems a-okay with me. Cursed Totem. Okay, so we don't have Thoughtseize into turn 2 Guy. Love Cursed Totem, though. I think I want a Bayou here. Fleshraker, Spirit Guide, Eye of Ugin. So if we take the Spirit Guide, they don't get to cast these Myco Spawns. That's kind of big news. So this is a creature card, not a creature, so they can still activate it with the Cursed Totem. This only affects creatures, which is what they're called on the battlefield. Do I play this Lotus Petal out so our opponent can't... Yeah, we don't want our opponent to have a Vexing Bauble. So any piece of fast mana doesn't quite get us there, but gets us close. There is... Oh, really? Okay, we're going to lose the Decay, probably. This isn't the worst, it's just irritating. It doesn't impact us right now. But giving our opponent full information is a bit of a pain. Right, I took the Decay, not a surprise. Pithing Needle. What do we name with the Pithing Needle here? We name the Wasteland. Do we name the Wasteland or do we name the Caracas? I think we name the Wasteland first, given our current situation. We're not playing out this Hexmage. So they know we have the combo next turn. So I suspect we see a Fleshraker this turn. If they don't play anything, that's quite suspicious. There's a Wasteland. There's a Fleshraker. So we know what they drew. A Crop Rotation. What does that do for us? Nothing, I think is the answer to that one. Okay. We need our opponent to not draw Kozilek's command. Cavern of Souls. Yeah, that's a little annoying. Oh, they're kicking it as well. What is our solution to our opponent kicking this? It's not good for us. So what they should do here... Oh, this is so bad. If we copy this, then they just go and get the Caracas. If we let this die, that doesn't help us out either. If they get a Cradle, they can just kick the second Myco Spawn. Like, I guess we just have to let this happen. Ugh, that's so bad. No, I think we made a mistake there. Once they get the Caracas, and we know, because the way they stacked their triggers was the wrong way around. Should have paid more attention to that one, I'm afraid. So we could have a Dark Depths in play right now. But this card would need to be very good off the top. Alright, it's not good enough. Yeah, we needed our opponent to brick for that one turn. And also they're running an unorthodox build with the Caracas, which got us in game 1. The Eldrazi matchup is slightly in our opponent's favour. But it's not super bad. It's like 55-ish in their favour, from my experience. Alright, let's go to round 4. Okay, this is what we call a classic. I'll keep this. When you keep 7-card hands, it does feel pretty good with this deck a lot of the time. So we're going to get to Inquisition, and if we need to, we can play out the Pithing Needle as well on turn 1. Show me what you got, opponent. Brainstorm, Psychic Frog, Entomb. Not a huge fan of Entomb. If these are the same name fetch land, we could be a real cheese here. We could take the Psychic Frog and hope they don't find a Reanimate. Does that seem like a good use of our time? I don't think so. I think we just have to take the Entomb and not mess around. Do I want to play that as Pithing Needle, or do I use this to play around a Daze next turn? I think we're going to use it to play around a Daze next turn. These reanimated decks have increasingly smaller numbers of Wasteland. If they just play Wasteland and get us, then that is obviously going to be irritating. Alright. But one of the cool things about Magic is you can't play around everything, so you end up with these like nice moments where you have to work out what you're playing around and make a choice. And sometimes you'll make the wrong choice, and that's, you know, that's life. I would love to Thoughtseize it, but I think I'm just going to play your friend of mine, Vampire Hexmage. Around a Daze. Did you draw Force of Will? Are we going to get a Brainstorm into Force of Will here? Let's just shove it. Alright, they got this Polluted Delta going here. Would you like to cast a Brainstorm now, opponent? I bet you would. Yeah, there you go. Please find a Daze or something. Or a Borrower, but no counter magic. We in? We in. Okay, in our opponent's upkeep, we will make a 20/20. I'm not expecting Stifle out of our opponent here. Just plays around Wasteland. I think Consign to Memory might be a card our opponent has in the main deck. It's possible. Stifle, I just don't think you can run Stifle these days in a lot of decks. We have to run the Consign to Memory. Okay, we have Protection around a Daze. Now they can just play Psychic Frog here. Oh, Psychic Frog. It would be a shame if you were to go under the bus, wouldn't it? The bus is your home. A Pithing Needle. I think I'll go to attacks. Under the bus, Psychic Frog. You're about to get under the bus of the Banhammer. So we play the Pithing Needle, they immediately frog in response and jump it anyway. So we don't have a line that stops the frog from jumping here. But we get to Thoughtseize our opponent's hand here. How do you like them apples, opponent? Okay, so what actually beats us here? Reanimating a big monster would work. They would need to borrow. They need to have a borrower. I guess they could Thoughtseize and borrow, but they're probably going to cast a cantrip to try and find a borrower. I think we take the reanimate because I don't. If they reanimate into an Archon of Cruelty, that is just lights out for us. So need to find land and borrower with this one turn, which they can't do. So we can find land frog here, and that buys them another turn. Yes, we could have played the Pithing Needle to stop it, but again, I don't think that's necessary and worth using our Spirit Guide when the Spirit Guide can keep our creature around. They have possibly 2 borrowers in their deck that we're trying to just get through here. Ponder is the card to cast there because it allows you to dig 4 cards, but the Brainstorm, if you need 2 pieces, would be the right one there. But obviously our opponent doesn't know what they don't know that they need to deal with this Not of This World as well. Black mana, no. Okay, they're trying to crack the fetch. Are we going to see another Psychic Frog? They could reanimate a Psychic Frog. Blue mana. Probably the Brainstorm here. No. It's just going to be another frog. Animate dead, targeting Psychic Frog. Sure. That's the thing you're allowed to do. A Lotus Petal. I will play out a Lotus Petal. I will play out a Pithing Needle. Our opponent needs to respond by activating their Psychic Frog. Okay, so now I can play around 2 days. I don't think we want to play. We use a Lotus Petal or a Spirit Guide to beat the to play the Pithing Needle here. All right, our opponent is treading water over there. Brainstorm, there it is. Hopefully, our opponent puts back the Thoughtseize. Although they know we've got cards in hand, they have to wonder why do we have cards in hand. All right, no, we just got the game there. Sure, excellent. So this is a matchup where we want Faerie Macabres and we want some number of Abrupt Decays, because our opponent is going to board in the Harbinger of the Seas, and that is a thing that we need to make sure doesn't stick around. So I think we get rid of the Duresses because that doesn't hit Brazen Borrow, which is like one of the only cards we really care about. How many Decays do we need? Is 3 enough or is 2 enough? I think 2 is enough. Let's give this a whirl. Because in theory, we should be going off before the Harbinger of the Seas can come down. But it is a thing we need to be aware of. Not just be stone cold to it. Maybe we want a 3rd Decay on the draw, and then only 2 on the play. I do have a sideboarding guide that I could probably just load up. But where's the fun in that? So if this hand has a 2nd piece of fast mana, then we get to go on turn 2. I guess we see what our opponent plays. Thoughtseize. Okay, we probably lose. What do we lose here? I guess it's going to be very dependent on what's in our opponent's hand. If they've got the Harbinger, they might opt for taking the Decay. Otherwise, they just... Okay, taking the Scrying. Reasonable. I'll play out this Lotus Petal. I'll play out this Dark Depths. Because our opponent doesn't know we have a second one. Our opponent can't cast a Harbinger this turn. These decks tend not to run Lotus Petal. And this just gives us more options for what we can draw next turn. A Ponder from our opponent. If they waste down our Dark Depths and then Surgical Extract it, that would be a surprise. Not a lot of people are on Surgical Extraction. Because you kind of need things like fairies to deal with oopsal spells and having a free way of interacting with a graveyard that doesn't use the stack for counter spells. Because the problem with Surgical Extraction against Blue-Black Reanimator is they can counterspell it, but they can't counterspell the fairy. So you don't really see Extraction anymore. That's what happens when your graveyard combo deck is a blue deck. Things get a bit wild. They did not shuffle off that Ponder. Curious. There is a Wasteland. Okay, so we got the exchange we wanted. That is a Wasteland gone. A Sylvan Scrying. Is it in my best interest to play that? I think it is. I'm going to play this stage out. And just hold up. We draw a piece of fast mana. We can go next turn. So these reanimated decks tend to have 2 to 3 Wastelands these days. That's not saying there aren't some with 4. But they're usually in the 2 to 3 ballpark. More around the 3, but I've seen plenty of 2 lists as well. Okay. Should I pass from my opponent there? Piece of fast mana, please. It is a piece of fast mana. I'll play out this Dark Depths. And I will pass. We don't have protection. So what we don't want to see here is Wasteland holding up blue-black. We want to see our opponent not have 3 mana, or not have 2 mana available. Or a Wasteland. Okay, not a Wasteland. They're playing a Frog. How do you feel about the Frog? This is going to be able to block, isn't it? I think I'm okay with that. If we have a piece of... We can't Sejiri Steppe due to the lands we're going to have in play at the end of this, which is 0. We only need 1 permanent in our lives. Bit fast mana? Not a bit of fast mana. Okay, I'll play out this. Okay, so we're going to get this Frog under the bus. Because the downside is, if we don't go this turn, opponent starts hitting us with a Frog. Because we don't have a way of Abrupt Decaying without losing our Lotus Petal, which we kind of needed to go off there. They're discarding Metamorphosis Fanatic. Okay, so this is going to reanimate the Frog next turn. But we can Abrupt Decay the Frog next turn. If that's their plan. If their plan is just to reanimate Metamorphosis Fanatic, I'm happy with that. Is this going to be a Surveil land, just in case they get something spicier? It is. Okay. I'm recognising these play lines on the other side of the board here. Just don't mill an Archon. Or an Atraxa. An Entomb. Wow, they didn't want the Entomb. Maybe they don't have the reanimation spell for the Metamorphosis Fanatic. Oh no, we just get the match. Sweet. In my experience, this blue-black reanimate matchup is about 55 in our favour. It's pretty good. The tempo matchup is slightly worse for us because they have more Wastelands. But basically, the way we lose in this matchup tends to be our opponent getting things like Archon of Cruelty into play early, which is why we have the 4 Faerie Macabres. Because if we could just concentrate on answering their sort of unfair plan, we can usually beat their fair plan. Alright, we are 2-2 after 4 rounds. Let's see if we can put positive on the board. Into the final round. I'm not really in love with this hand at all. Let's mulligan it and try and get something that looks better than this as well, please. Nah, still not buying it. Okay, this is a turn 2. Our opponent plays Vexing Ball, puts us in the dirt. Oh, a Peat Bog. We're playing against that deck I detest. I think we are. So we play out Lotus Petal and a Lotus Petal. Imagine playing this Creative Technique deck. Or, I think it's Creative Technique. I think that's what it's called. The Demonstrate spell. Imagine playing that. They might not be playing that, to be fair. But I was just going to say, imagine playing that in a format with Vexing Ball. Maybe they're not playing that. Maybe it's just Peat Bog as a land for some sort of Storm deck. That probably makes more sense than playing that deck right now. Like, I've had several leagues where I've played against 5 Vexing Bauble decks right now. So I would be pretty loath to play something that depends on free spells resolving. A basic swamp. Okay. Yeah, our opponent isn't doing that. They're doing something else. Cool. Him to Torak. Oh no. The multi-4 Him to Torak on turn 2 is pretty savage. I guess we pass in. I like what our opponent's putting down. I like their style. Could be a bit of a rough one for us. But the multi-4 is usually a sign that it's not going to be the best. But our deck does mulligan quite well. and we need to mulligan a lot quite often. I imagine the average hand size we keep is probably somewhere between 5 and 6 cards over the course of like 1,000 games. Maybe our opponent's playing Vampire Hexmage, that'd be cool. Shouldered? Liliana of the Veil. Yeah, right on. Each player discards a card. Maybe our opponent's on Pox. I don't know. I don't know what's going on exactly here, but I like our opponent's style. Why is it asking me which card to discard? Of course it's that one. They had another Liliana, sure. Okay, this is part of our solution here. So now green shooters become pretty handy. But we have to make sure we don't just get popped by this Liliana. I guess we can, if we can make the construct, then we can just, in response to the 6/6. Would I like to crack this? I don't really want to draw a Bayou. Just get the Bayou. Just gives us more flexibility. I guess we'll play out. Our opponent does have a Liliana. We could turn our Thespian stage into an Urza's Saga. That might be pretty good here, truth be told. Mishra's Factory. An oldie but a goodie. If we turn our Thespian stage into an Urza's Saga, we still have enough mana to combo off if we draw the thing. Our opponent didn't activate the Liliana. Very interesting. That suggests they have a card they're really wanting to keep hold of. So let's take that away from them. Smallpox, Bloodchief's Thirst, and Dark Ritual. I don't really want this Smallpox to resolve. I'm not a big fan of this Bloodchief's Thirst. Although we take a Smallpox. Sure, you make a construct. We've got some life to pay here. We can take the construct damage. It's quite nice just seeing a Pox player going off. I enjoy that style of play quite a lot, where you just strip your opponent's ability to play the game. Okay, so they're probably attacking with the Factory, because that pumps up their other construct as well. Gives them 6 damage. Okay, they're going for a servo. The reason they're going for a servo is so they can get a flying one, so they can get through, so they can stop our Dark Depths getting through soon. Minor crop rotation or something here. Not of this world. Not the one we wanted. I don't like our chances here. Surprised our opponent isn't plussing this Liliana. Let's get those counters on and threaten that ultimate. Oh, they didn't need that Dark Ritual they got kicking around. It helps them untap a Retrofitters, I guess. If that's the thing they want to do. But I think they're just better off. Yeah, our opponent agrees. I'm not sure what our Pox matchup is like, because I haven't played the matchup very much, but I'm suspecting it's not great for us. So we could make a construct, or we could flip our Saga into something else. So getting in for loads of damage here. I don't think we have an out. I guess we could make the construct now and block the servo. That feels bad. They activate this. We have a Merit Lage and our opponent panics. Does that work? I don't think we actually have any ways of winning this game. So we make a servo, we make a construct now. It's a 2/2. We can block here. Next turn we untap. What are we doing with this? We could make a construct and it'll still be a 2/2, but I guess they become 3/3s when I go and get another Lotus Petal. 3/3s, we can double block one of these. So we can take 5, but this time we're already taking 10. If we hold out for the Dark Depths, we just don't get there either way, do we? And they've got the Liliana to minus. Yeah, that was a little bit rough. So how do we best what our opponent is putting down? Pithing Needles look very solid here. Not of This World is not going to do very much here. I think some Abrupt Decays look intriguing to me. I like Duresses here. I don't really want any more. The Null Rod can shut down some of the things, but the Pithing Needle can do that whilst hitting other bits and pieces too. They don't really show us much with their graveyard, so I don't know if we need this Bojuka Bog. So maybe we take a Sylvan Safekeeper, just the thing to sacrifice, because they're probably going to have some amount of edicts. I don't hate that. Or we can take a Duress and try and mess up our opponent's hand first. Alright, I'll leave it with the Safekeeper here. So our deck is dedicated to doing one thing. Our opponent's deck is trying to strip all the resources out of the game and then win with what's left. That kind of is a bit detrimental to us because we need A plus B. If we were just a deck that was not dedicated to doing a specific thing but just had generically good cards, you know, we just have a bunch of Delvers and Dragon's Rage Channels and stuff like that to draw, then we're in a better spot. So I which is one of the reasons why Pox struggles a bit, because people are just playing good cards that they can play off of low resources. Whereas we need some resources, and we need very specific cards to execute our game plan. We are on the play. This hand does not really play, so let's mulligan. This doesn't do what we need it to either. I'm filling him to Turak in our future. I can live with this. Chuck back this, and we chuck back... Is it Thoughtseize, or is it the Hexmage? So our opponent's deck will have Wastelands in, so I'm going to go and get a Bayou and then cast a Pithing Needle on Wasteland. Opposition Agent is also a thing we have to worry about, hence why I want to keep the Thoughtseize, so we can at least take a peek of our opponent's hand. Because from turn 1 they can Dark Ritual Opposition Agent. Hey Swamp, we getting Thoughtseized? Uh-oh, Dark Ritual. Is this him Thoughtseize? It could be. We can lose our whole hand. Sometimes you get Mind Twisted on turn 1. And that is the world we live in. Yeah, it takes Sylvan Scrying. Is that him? They could Smallpox. That would be also very irritating. Repunishing our mulligan. Oh, Bitter Blossom. That's some old school tech against Dark Depths decks. Very old school. Smallpox, Retrofitter's Foundry. Well, well, well. Ain't that a terrifying sight? I guess we take out the Foundry. We just don't want them to be able to spam some guys with that. Oh dear, oh dear. We're getting Smallpox right now. There's an Urborg. There it is. Boom. I wonder if they keep their Urborg or their Swamp. It's a shame we don't get to see what they sacrifice first. This is a really tough call. I think I'm going to sacrifice the Bayou. Yeah, they got rid of the Urborg. A Hexmage. Okay, kind of wish we kept the Bayou now. Mishra's Factory. That's a win condition. This matchup does not seem great for us. Especially with the Bitter Blossom tech. That is right out of the past. What are we doing? We activating our factory? How Thoughtseize. Goodbye, Sylvan Scrying, I have to imagine. There's no way our opponent will play an Urborg if they draw one here. Factory up and running. Bash, bash, bash. Yeah, we are somewhat far behind. An Urborg, okay. That's a real card. So we can stop the factory from attacking us. We can't attack into the factory because the factory can activate, block, and then pump itself. But it obviously can't do that on attacks because it's already tapped. Castle Lochthwain. I don't think our opponent wants to be drawing cards, given their life total. Getting through these Bitter Blossoms is going to be a real pain. We need to draw like Dark Depths into Sejiri Steppe. That would be lovely. Okay, another Hexmage. Just keep them coming. That factory is irritating. They activating the Lochthwain? Using our Urborg? Sure, this is 1 damage to them. So they're going to go down to 9, but they're going to bash us down to 8. And they're going to go to 7, and they're going to bash us down to 4. So things not going our way. But I am enjoying what our opponent's put down. We can remove a counter from that Peat Bog. Well, we can remove all the counters from the Peat Bog. That's not really what we want to do, though. Alright, what fresh hell is this? Single black mana. A Dark Ritual to activate the Castle Lochthwain with mana floating. Sure. 8 plays 8, but our opponent has all these fairies in play. And they can still do the annoying Mishra's Factory trick. We could draw a Ghost Quarter. Ooh, they're tapping the factory. Well, that's probably not good for us. Sinkhole. Okay, I think they should have just left their factory untapped. Because now we get to bash them. Although if we bash them with both, they get to block. They get to attack us with the factories. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So if we attack with just one, we're definitely attacking. If we attack with one guy, they probably just chump it. We attack with 2 guys, they chump 1. So they attack back for 6, but then they have a blocker. I think it just is 1 that attacks this turn. No blocks. We might end up in a situation where a Sejiri Steppe on our Hexmage can win us this game. What a weird game. Like, it's always weird when you play with or against Pox, to be honest. It's a fun deck. I enjoy it a great deal. It's not our best friend today. Double Multi 4 as well. Was it Multi 4 or Multi 5? This one, I can't remember now. Yeah, this is going to do half our life total. So our opponent has us dead next turn unless we can find something to help us out. Maybe we get a sneaky Abrupt Decay off. I think we boarded in those. Sinkhole. Well, well, well. Thoughtseize. Well, we have to go for it here and see if our opponent makes a mistake. Activate the factory. Yep. Yeah, we got crushed by Pox. Now, we did get mind twisted pretty much in both games. Not exactly mind twisting, but Thoughtseize into Sinkhole is pretty brutal, and this Bitter Blossom is decidedly good against us. It's some cool old tech that you don't see a lot, and I'm happy to see it. Alright, so we only finished with a 2-3 today, which is not the score that we're really looking for. But we did play against some sort of more fringe, unusual decks. So we played against that weird Stoneblade deck. And we were really, really close to winning that one as well. We just didn't quite go over the hump. When all the resources got depleted, our opponent drew out of it better than we did. And that is unfortunate. And they had to have the exact right number of things. And like I said, if we didn't have the Sejiri Steppe in hand and we could crop rotate for it, then I think we just have that game absolutely nailed on. In a paper tournament, I recently lost in the top 4 to having the Sejiri Steppe in hand again. It's just one of those things that sometimes happens when you play singletons. It's a bit like being a Storm player and just drawing your Gaia's Blessing at the wrong time. Not Gaia's Blessing, Gaia's Will. And that Pox matchup did not look very friendly either. But, you know, we beat the Blueback Reanimator deck, we beat the Painter deck. The Eldrazi matchup was really close as well. Again, we needed our opponent to not have like the exact things when they did. Like we needed to brick for one more turn and we were okay. And we just didn't quite get through. So I'm still happy with how the deck is. I think the 4 Null Rods are pretty essential. You could swap this Duress for something. That's kind of the flex slot in my mind. But our deck doesn't have that many ins and outs that we get to sideboard. Because we need to keep the core of our deck together. So it becomes awkward boarding in too many cards. There are some matchups where you go, okay, we don't want hand disruption, or we don't need to protect our creature or have Pithing Needles. But generally speaking, you're not really messing with any of these cards. I'll pull out the cards that you do mess with, I guess. So these cards and these cards are what you're messing with. Sometimes the fast mana, but generally speaking, you don't want to mess with the fast mana. And there's a lot of decks that have access to Magus of the Moon effects, whether it's Magus of the Moon, Blood Moon, or Harbinger of the Seas. So you kind of need your mana that's non-land, so you can actually have a chance of casting your Abrupt Decay more regularly. Because basically you get one basic, and then you have these, and then you can usually cast the Abrupt Decay. So yeah, I'm a big fan of this deck, as you all know. It'll be nice to see what the format looks like in another week's time when we get some bannings. And as I'm recording this, Eternal Weekend hasn't happened, so I hope anyone who did go had a lovely time. Feel free to chat about any of your Dark Depths experiences if you were so inclined to play Dark Depths at the tournament or played against it. And if you want to know more about this deck, by all means check out my Patreon. It is linked in the description. Alright, thank you so much for watching. Please remember to like and subscribe, and goodbye. If you'd like to support me in the channel, please check out my Patreon. It has a free guide to budget Turbodepths as well as 3 tiers of support. A low cost one that enters you into my monthly raffle for a free donation deck on the channel, a mid-tier subscription that gives you access to my detailed Turbodepths guide that is updated every month as well as regular articles, and lastly the higher tier gives you all of the above as well as a monthly donation deck for my channel. If you're interested in supporting the channel this way, please check out the link in the description.